Today we'll see design of a worm gear. I'm Professor Pradnya Kosbe from Department of Mechanical Engineering of JSPM's Jaywantrao Samant College of Engineering. First we'll see terminology of worm gears. In a case of worm gear, axial pitch is the distance measured from a point on a one thread to the corresponding point on the adjacent thread, measured along the axis of the worm. So, axial pitch is the so you can see in the figure that axial pitch is the distance corresponding to adjacent thread measured along the axis of the worm, and it is denoted by px. In this figure, this is worm and this is a worm wheel, where D1 is a pitch circle diameter of a worm, D2 is a pitch circle diameter of a worm wheel. Then this is a inclination of a helix. So psi is the helix angle. Then gamma is the lead angle. Gamma is the lead angle. Then this is the center line of the worm wheel and this is the center line of the worm. Then A is the center distance between worm and worm wheel. Here it is shown triple threaded worm. Triple threaded worm means when worm will rotate through one revolution, then axial advancement of the worm is equal to 3 times the pitch. So L is equal to 3 into px. You can see in the figure also that 1, 2 and this is a 3. So it is px, px, px. So L is equal to 3px. So when I will unfold his rotation, then circular distance traveled within one rotation by worm, it will be equal to pi dn. That is equal to circumference, and L is the axial distance traveled, and this angle is gamma, and this is the thread length of one revolution, that is hypotenuse. So now lead, already I have told you, lead of the worm is defined as the distance that a point on the helical profile will move when the worm is rotated through one revolution. It is the thread advance in a one turn. So for a single start thread, the lead is equal to axial pitch. For a double start thread, the lead is twice the axial pitch, and so on. So lead is according to n number of starts, L will be equal to px into n. Here formula is given, L is equal to px into z1, where px is a axial pitch for a worm and z represents number of starts on a worm. Then pitch circle diameter of the worm wheel is given by d2 is equal to mz2. Now, as seen in the figure, the axial pitch of the worm should be equal to circular pitch of the worm wheel. You can see axial pitch of the worm should be equal to circular pitch of the worm wheel. Here px is the axial pitch and p is the circular pitch of the worm wheel. So here uh, px is equal to pi d2 divided by z2, because axial pitch of the worm should be equal to circular pitch, and formula for a circular pitch is pi d divided by z, that you know. So it is pi px pi d2 divided by z2 is a circular pitch of the worm wheel, and it is equal to px. So it is px is pi d2 by z2 is equal to pi d2 is equal to mz2 by z2. Z2 will get cancelled, so px is equal to pi m, and lead is equal to pi m zn. So these are the formulas of axial pitch and for a lead of a worm in terms of module and number of starts. Then lead angle. Lead angle is defined as angle between tangent to the thread at the pitch diameter and a plane normal to worm axis. So you can see here, lead angle is the angle tangent to thread. So if you can see, this is the thread, and let us consider this is a thread. You can draw tangent over here to this thread at this point, correct, like this. So this is the angle between tangent to thread. So it is an angle between tangent to thread at the pitch diameter and a plane normal to the worm axis. So according to this figure, this tan gamma, you can see here L is the lead. Within one rotation, distance traveled by worm is pi d1, and this angle is what? Gamma, right? Now, tan gamma will be equal to L divided by pi d1. So, but L is equal to what? Pi m z1, and pi d1, d1 is equal to qm. Already we have assumed diametral, what is mean by diametral quotient, and according to that q is equal to d1 by m. So d1 is equal to q into m. Just we are putting this value in the above equation. So tan gamma is equal to L is equal to pi m z1, and put the value of d1 over here in terms of diametral quotient, that is pi qm. So tan gamma is equal to z1 divided by q. Then next is the helix angle. So helix angle is defined between the angle between a tangent to the thread at the pitch diameter and axis of the worm. So again it is the angle between tangent to the thread at pitch circle diameter and axis of the worm. So worm of the helix angle is the complement of the worm lead angle. So we can write down gamma is the lead angle, psi is the helix angle. So gamma plus psi is equal to pi by 2. Then pressure angle. The pressure angle is measured in a plane containing the axis of the worm, and it is equal to 1/2 of the thread angle. The pressure angle should not be less than 20 degree for a single start thread, and for a double start worms, and it should not be less than 25 degree for triple and multi-start worms. So these are the ranges given for the pressure angle of the worms. So I will repeat it. The pressure angle should not be less than 20 degree for single and double start worms, and 25 degree for triple and multi-start worms. Okay. Now we'll see proportions of worm gears. So you can see here. Now we'll see proportions of a worm gear. Here in the figure we can see this is worm, this is worm wheel, this is worm wheel. Now for a worm D1, here it is D1. D1 is a pitch circle diameter of the worm. DA1 is addendum circle diameter of a worm. DF1 dedendum circle diameter of a worm. HA1 addendum height. HF1 dedendum height or depth. PX lead axial pitch. Gamma is the lead angle. So I will repeat over here that D1 is a pitch circle diameter, then D1 is a piece circle diameter, Da1 addendum circle diameter of a worm, DF1 dedendum circle diameter of a worm, HA1 that is the height after D1 whatever height up to top surface or end of the threads, that is HA1, it is the addendum height of a worm, and HF1 that is where dedendum is there up to pitch circle, that is HF1, and that is dedendum height of the worm. Now same way for a worm wheel, D2 is a pitch circle diameter of a worm, Da2 is a addendum circle diameter of a worm wheel, DF2 dedendum circle diameter of a worm wheel, HA2 addendum height of worm wheel, HF2 dedendum height of a worm wheel. So D2 pitch circle diameter of a worm wheel, Da2 addendum circle diameter of a worm wheel, DF2 is dedendum circle diameter of a worm wheel, HF2 is a dedendum height of a worm wheel, and HA2 is addendum height of the worm. Now we'll see proportion. According to standard dimensions, height of the addendum of a worm, that is HA1, is equal to standard module. So HA1 is equal to M. Now HF1 is given, that is that proportion is 2.2 cos gamma minus 1 into M. HF1 is a dedendum height and it is equal to 2.2 cos gamma minus 1 into M. Then clearance is given, T is equal to 0.2 M cos gamma. Now here already we have seen HA1 is the addendum in mm, HF1 is dedendum in mm, C is the clearance. Now outside and root diameters of the worms are expressed as follows. Da1, all these things first we will convert it into pitch circle diameter and then in terms of module, because module will be known to us or we will find out, and from module we can find out all other dimensions. Okay. So Da1 is outside diameter of the worm or dedendum circle diameter of the worm. Da1 is equal to, you can see, D1 plus HA over here and HA on this side. So Da1 is equal to D1 plus 2HA1, but D1 is equal to Q into M and HA is equal to standard model. So Da1 is equal to QM plus 2M. So Da1 is equal to M in bracket Q plus 2. Same way DF1. DF1 is a inner diameter or root diameter of the worm. It will be D1. D1 is after that and below that HF1. From this side and from this side. So DF1 is equal to D1 minus 2HF1 is equal to D1 is QM and HF1 is 2.2 cos gamma minus 1 into n. Put these values over here, that is qm minus 2m in bracket 2.2 cos gamma minus 1. So df1 is equal to m in bracket q plus 2 minus 4.4 cos gamma. Okay. Next to this, dimensions of worm fill. For a HA2, HA2 is height of the addendum of a wormhole. Empirical relationship for this is m into 2 cos gamma minus 1, and HF2 is equal to m in bracket 1 plus 0.2 cos gamma. So HA2 addendum at the throat and HF2 dedendum in the median plane. So dimensions of wormhole are DA2 is equal to, here it is DA2. So it will be D2 plus HA2 plus HA2 on this side. So DA2 is equal to D2 plus 2HA2 is equal to, D2 will be equal to in terms of module and number of teeth, it will be D2 is MZ2 plus 2 HA2. HA2 m into 2 cos gamma minus 1. So DA2 is equal to m in bracket Z2 plus 4 cos gamma minus 2. And DF2 is equal to, this is a DF2 and this is a D2 and this is HF2, HF2. So DF2 is equal to D2 minus 2HF2 is equal to MZ2 minus 2M in bracket 1 plus 0.2 cos gamma. So DF2 is equal to MZ2 minus 2 minus 0.4 cos gamma. DF2 is D2 minus 2HF2. Okay, so where DA2 throat diameter of the wormhole and DF2 root diameter of the wormhole. Next to this, we will see face width of the wormhole. Face width of the wormhole is denoted by letter F. Face width of the wormhole is denoted by letter F. Now, this effective face width is obtained by drawing line tangent AB to the pitch circle diameter of the worm, and A and B are point of intersection of this tangent and the outside diameter of the worm. Okay, so for finding out, you can see this is the pitch circle diameter of the worm. It is shown by center line. This is the outside diameter of the worm. So you can see this is the pitch circle diameter is shown by a center line. D1 is the pitch circle diameter and DA1 is the outside diameter of the worm. Now tangent AB is drawn at a pitch circle. So this is a point of contact at point C to the pitch circle, and it is intersecting at point A and B to the outside diameter of the worm. Now From triangle AOC, from triangle AOC, we can write down that according to Pythagoras theorem, that AC square plus OC square is equal to AO square. So AC square will be equal to AO square minus OC square. What is AC? AC is half of the face width. Total AB is the face width. You can see F is the face width total. So AC is half of the face width. So put over here F by 2 square. AO. What is AO? It is a radius of a outside circle or outside. So it is outside circle diameter is dA1. Then OC is what? Pitch circle radius. That is d1 by 2. So put this value over here. AC is half of the face width. So F by 2 square. AO is radius of outside circle. So it is dA1 by 2. OC is pitch circle radius of the worm. So it is d1 by 2. So now equation is F by 2 square minus dA1 by 2 square minus d1 by 2 square. Put the value of dA1 which we have already studied, that dA1 is equal to m into q plus 2 divided by 2 square, and d1 is equal to qm. Put this value over here. So now equation will be m in bracket q plus 2 by 2 square minus 2m by 2 square. So f is equal to 2m plus under square root q plus 1. So this is the final. We will get f is equal to 2m plus under square root q plus 1. Now now we want to find out length of the root of the wormhole teeth. So to find out length of the wormhole teeth, let us consider from triangle O. Now this is the length of the arc of the wormhole teeth, which is denoted by here x, y, z. So from triangle O, Z, O, this is O, this is Z, and this is C1. So from triangle OZC1, an angle included by this is del. Let us consider. So sine del is equal to C1Z divided by OZ. But C1Z is what? Again half of the face width. So and OZ is dA1 plus 2C divided by 2. Okay. So it is already given. It is dA1 plus 2C divided by 2. That is radius up to OZ. So put this value over in this equation, we will get sine del is equal to C1Z divided by OZ is equal to F by 2 divided by dA1 plus 2C divided by 2. So del is equal to sine inverse of F divided by dA1 plus 2C. So the length of the root of the worm wheel teeth is the arc XYZ, and which is denoted by letter LR, length of the arc. So LR is arc XYZ. It will be equal to 2D 2 del divided by 2 pi in bracket pi dA1 plus 2C. Okay, so dA1 LR is equal to dA1 plus 2C into del, and del is equal to sine inverse of F divided by dA1 plus 2C. Okay, so it is LR is equal to final equation is LR is dA1 plus 2C sine inverse of F divided by dA1 plus 2C. Okay. Next we will see force analysis of the worm. Now force analysis, you can see over here, this is a worm and this is a worm wheel. Okay, so you can see for a worm we will use a subscript 1, and for a worm wheel we will use subscript 2. So you can see over here, radial force always act towards center. Okay, so you can see P1R is the radial force acting on the worm, P2R radial force acting on the worm wheel. Then P1A is the axial force acting on the worm, and P1T is the force acting on the worm, that is a tangential component. Then P2T is the tangential force acting on the worm wheel, and P2A is the axial force acting on the worm wheel. So P1R radial force acting on the worm, P2R radial force acting on the worm wheel, P1A acting along the axis direction of the worm, that is the axial force on the worm, P2A is axial force on the worm wheel acting along the axis of the worm wheel. P2A is acting along the axis of the worm wheel. Then P1T tangent to the pitch circle diameter over here, you can see at a point of contact, this is P1T tangential component of a worm, and here P2T is acting at the tangent to the pitch point or here, that is a P2T is a tangential component of the worm wheel. Now according to this diagram, we can say P2T is equal to P1A, because there should be equilibrium. So we can say P2T is equal to P1A, P2T is equal to P1A, then P2A is equal to P1T, and P2R is equal to P1R. So I will repeat, P2T, that is a tangential component of the worm wheel, is equal to P1A, that is axial component of a worm. So P2T is equal to P1A. Then axial component of a worm wheel is equal to tangential component of a worm. So P2A is equal to P1T. Then radial component of a worm wheel is equal to radial component of a worm. So P2R is equal to P1R. Next, again it is a force analysis. Yeah. Okay. So here it is shown that this is a piece cylinder of a worm and forces acting on it. Now Pn is the normal component or resultant component. Pr is the radial component acting on the worm. Pa axial component. Pr is the radial component. This is the Pr. Pr is the radial component acting on the worm. Pa is the axial component acting on the worm, and Pt is the tangential component acting on the worm. This P is the uh, resultant force, and then so the so the normal reaction P acting on the worm is shown in the figure. Now this normal reaction is acting at an angle psi. You can see it is acting just right, not psi. It is acting at an angle gamma in a top plane, and P is the resultant force, and this alpha is the helix angle between normal component and resultant uh, force P. Now you can see over here that if I'm taking triangle ABD, it will be equal to angle between AB and BD is alpha. This is radial component and this is a normal component. And here, if I am taking this top plane EBFA, that is EBFA, I will get Pn at an angle gamma. This is a tangential component and this is axial component. So here also PT and PA. Then you can see from this figure, I can see that Pn is equal to P, this Pn is equal to, this is a Pn. So that figure is, so this Pn is equal to P cos alpha, Pr is equal to P sin alpha. Resolving the component Pn in a plane A EBF, then we can say PA is equal to, if this is gamma, this will also gamma. So PA is equal to Pn cos gamma, and Pt is equal to Pn sin gamma. So from this relationship ABCD, we can say that Pt is equal to P cos alpha sin gamma, Pa is equal to P cos alpha cos gamma, and Pr is equal to P sin alpha. Okay, so P1R, now there is a friction also. So adding this friction, we can say that, just so there is a friction exist. You can see mu, it is mu p is the frictional force acting at the pitch point. Let us consider this is the pitch of the helix. Then when I will resolve this into two component, it is mu p cos gamma, and this will be mu p sin gamma. So when we want to find out force acting, because in a worm gear frictional force is significant, so it cannot neglect it, because there is a sliding motion between threads of the worm and the teeth of the worm wheel. Because in a case of another gears, there is a rolling motion between teeth of the pinion and gear, so friction can be neglected. But in a case of worm and worm wheel, there is a sliding motion, so that friction cannot be neglected. Okay, so the resultant frictional force mu p, where mu is the coefficient of friction, and direction of the frictional force as shown in a figure, it is along the helix. You can see. So and it will be opposite to the direction of rotation. Okay, so there will be two components, that mu p cos gamma in the tangential direction, and this direction of the component is same as that of pt, and mu p sin pi is in the axial direction. You can see mu p sin gamma is in the axial direction, and this direction is opposite to the axial component. So this mu p cos gamma is a tangent and in the same direction of tangential component, and mu p sin gamma is opposite to the direction of a axial component. Okay, so considering this, I can write down P1t is equal to P cos alpha sin gamma plus mu P cos gamma, So P1T is equal to P cos alpha sin gamma plus mu cos gamma. And similarly, axial component P1A is equal to P cos alpha cos gamma minus mu P sin gamma, because mu P sin gamma is in the opposite direction. So P1A is equal to P cos alpha cos gamma minus mu sin gamma. And PR is equal to P sin alpha, which is as it is. And P1T will be 2mt by D1. So this is regarding force analysis of the worm and worm field. In the next session, we will see the design of a worm gear on a strength basis.